you're still drums. And he heard, oh, play louder. Boom, boom. And then he went to the other people and he said, can you sing? Do you have a song? They said, yes, we have a song. Sing it for me. Hi-ya, 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 hi-ya. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, louder, he said. That was wonderful, said Coyote. Thank you, my children, he said. And he left. And he went back to where the dirt monster was. And he said, grandson, grandson, grandson. But the dirt monster didn't say anything. The dirt monster simply sat, his mouth open. And as Coyote watched, an eagle flew out, and a herd of deer came out, and a buffalo, and a whole bunch of little peccaries. And then finally, the people that he had seen came out, and they were holding their hides, and they were holding their food and looking around a little dazed. And Coyote led them back to where their village had been. And that is how Coyote defeated the dirt monster. And it's about a boy. He's a little older than you. And he worked as a servant in the castle of a king. And he had one special job. Every day, he would go to the kitchen, and the kitchen door would open. And they would give him a silver platter. The cook would give him a silver platter. And he had to take it across the castle to the door of the chamber of the king, which is not the ladies' room. Now, the king's special servant would take that platter, but nobody would ever tell the boy what it was. And his curiosity got the better of him. Because he thought about it, and he thought about it, and he thought about it. What is in that covered platter? And so one day, when he went to the kitchen, before he went to the king's study, he took it to a very secret part of the castle. And he reached into his sheath and he took out his knife that he carried with him all the time. And he took the cover off that platter. Do you know what he found on that platter? A huge, long, freshly cooked white snake. Well, he thought, this is coming out of the kitchen. It's going to the king. The king must eat it. I wonder. And so he took his knife and he cut just the tip of the tail off. And he hid it. Took the platter and gave it to the king's special servant. And then he took that piece of the tail, that very tip of the tail out, and he ate it. And he didn't feel any different at all. It didn't taste that bad. Tasted about the way you'd expect a cooked snake to taste. And as he sat there and stood there saying, well, what is supposed to happen? He heard some voices. He was standing right beside a window, and he heard two voices saying, hey, you see that servant down there? Yeah, what about him? Oh, he is in deep trouble, I'm here to tell you. He is in deep trouble. You know, this morning, the queen was looking around for her golden ring, and it's gone missing. Oh, no kidding. So what's that got to do with him? Well, he goes into her chamber. They're suspecting him of stealing it. If he can't find it, he's going to get hanged. Well, do you know where it is? Yeah, I know. She had it in her hand yesterday, and she put it on the windowsill, and it fell off the windowsill. I was watching this, and it dropped right into the courtyard where they were feeding the geese. And one of the geese swallowed it. You know, that one down there, the only one that has the black spot on her head, she swallowed it. It's sitting inside that goose right now. Well, he looked around and he said to himself, where are these voices coming from? And out the window, he saw two sparrows sitting in a tree. And he could see, and he could hear that they were the ones talking. And the sparrows looked over, hey, he's looking at us. I know. Maybe we better fly away. I think it's a good idea. And so they flew away. Now he understood. He knew what the magic of the white snake was, and so do you, don't you? What did it allow him to do? He could understand the animals. He could talk to the animals. But the first thing, before he could do anything about that, what did he have to take care of? The ring. And so he went down to the kitchen and he said to the chef, you know, I think the queen would really like to have a goose for dinner tonight. Oh, are you sure about that? Said the cook. Yes, I'm very sure. Okay, I'll go get a goose. Yeah, particularly that one with the black spot on its head. That one. You sure? That one. Really. She wants it. That one. Yeah, that one. All right, that one, said the cook. And so the cook cooked up that goose. And that night, before the queen said anything about her ring, as she was eating her dinner, she picked up her wishbone and she said, oh, look, here's my ring. Now, who on earth had this goose cooked? And the cook said, well, it was the page over here. She said, you must be rewarded. Come to us in the star chamber after dinner, and you shall have a reward. And so after dinner, the boy was ushered in front of the king. And the king said, you've been a good servant. You've been loyal. You've been honest. What would you like? And the page said, well, really what I'd like, Your Majesty, is not much. I want to see the world. I want to go out and see what's out there. So just a few pieces of gold and a horse is all I need. Is that all? Here, one more thing. Cook, give him 2 saddlebags full of food. Well, thank you, my liege, said the page. And the next day he rode out. And he rode and he rode and he was wonderful because he had this new skill. He could understand, and he heard so many conversations going on. Every single cricket, every bird call. Now he understood what they were. But at one point, he heard something very sad as he was about to make camp, and his horse was standing there by the side of the road. He heard crying. And he looked around. Where did the crying come from? And there, he saw that his horse's hoof was standing right on top of an anthill. And all the ants were going. And so he moved the horse so that the horse wasn't destroying the anthill. And the queen of the ants came to the top of the anthill. She looked up at the page and she said, he kind of wondered if he shouldn't have eaten a little more of the white snake, but he got the idea that she was very thankful. The next day, as he rode further, he camped by the side of a river. And he heard, "Help! Help! Help! Help!" He went over, and there in the river, in the shallows of the river, was a beautiful, big, golden fish. And he said, you look like you're stuck in the shallows. "Very perceptive, I am." "Well, here, let me help you." And he picked up the fish very, very carefully, and went into the middle of the river, and he let the fish go. And the fish began to swim back up the river, back to the sea. And the fish turned around, he said, after he'd caught his breath, "Thank you. Thank you, my friend. You have saved my life and you have given me breath. I will be always at your service." And he swam away. The next day, as he rode, he heard again some crying. And there by the side of the river, by the side of the road, he saw two very, very young ravens. They had fallen out of the nest, and their mother had deserted them. And they were saying, oh, we're hungry, we're hungry, we're hungry. And so he took the food out of his saddlebags, and he threw it down to the two young ravens. And one of them said, "We thank you very much for giving us this food. We shall indeed remember you to our dying day." And the other raven said, "Yeah, like what he said." And so they ate, and he rode on. And he rode until he came to a faraway kingdom. And one of the people in the kingdom told him that there was a princess in the castle. The king had decreed that she should marry whomever she pleased, but she was very picky. Many, many princes had come from many, many lands, and she had denied them all. But he thought, "I think I will marry her." And so he rode to the castle, he dusted the dust off himself, and he walked into the great hall, and there sat the king on his throne with the princess on the throne beside him. And he said, "Welcome, young man. Have you come to attempt the princess's hand?" And he said, "Yes, indeed, I would. I would like to try to marry the princess." And the princess said, "Oh, father, look at him. He's a peasant. He's disgusting. I want nothing to do with him. No, 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 nothing at all." "Well, of course, you know, he must attempt something." "I don't want him to even attempt. It's part of the rules." "Oh, very well." And she thought of a test for him. She said, "Come with me, boy." And she went into the kitchen, and she picked up a bowl of wheat, and she threw it on the kitchen floor. And she said, "Pick up every single grain of that wheat by morning, or you will be beheaded." "Well, very well then," said the page. "I'll try." "You'd better not try. You'd better do it." Well, he tried. He went through, he got a broom, he started picking them up, but they were down inside the crevices. He couldn't get every single one, and he knew that she would find them. And as he sat there looking, he said, "How am I going to do this?" He stared, and as the night went on, he saw the pieces of wheat begin to move. One after another, after another, after another. Move and come and deposit itself in the bowl. And as he looked closely, he saw that under